Hey guys, so it is the end of the month. I am here with my wrap up. And let me just tell you, I did hella good this January. But that's only because for like over half the month, I was sitting at home on my ass doing nothing. But, you know, it's cool. So I read a total of 8 books. And that is like a new thing for me. However, 2 of these books I was already halfway through and then I just like decided to finish them. So let's go ahead and jump into this. So the first book I finished was Looking for Alaska by John Green. I have had this book forever. Well, not this edition. I've only had this edition for over a year, but like I have the older edition. I've had it forever. It has been sitting on my shelf forever. And I finally told myself I'm gonna read it and finish all the John Green books. And oh my god, this book is so freaking amazing, and I can see why everybody says this is like their favorite John Green book, and I'm so mad at myself that it took me so long to read it, but I loved it. Like, I related so much to certain characters and everything, and it actually has like some of my favorite quotes that I've ever heard, and I liked, particularly one that everybody freaking knows. I liked this particular quote way before I even read Alaska, but I was like, I kind of feel like I can't like it because I haven't read the book. But it is, so I decided I'm really going to start sharing quotes from books that I've read, because I don't know if I've ever talked about this, but in all of my books, if I find a quote I really like, I highlight it in purple, because purple is my favorite color, and why not? So I have about 3 in this book that I really loved, and I've decided when I do wrap-ups, if I have highlighted in the book, I'm going to share my favorite quotes with you. The first one I really related to was, I go to seek the great, perhaps. I have been thinking a lot about this quote. I have thought so much about it since I finished this book back like the first week of January, and how Pudge is going to this private school to seek the great perhaps, and that's why I'm going to Spain, is to seek the great perhaps, to expand myself and just see more. And I just really love this quote. Like, it probably is one of my favorite quotes of like all times, like ever. The next quote I really loved from this book, which everybody loves, and this is one of the ones that I was like, oh my god, I really love that, but I feel like I can't love it because I haven't read it yet, but now I feel perfectly fine loving it. And it is, thinking that if people were rain, I was a drizzle and she was a hurricane. And that is just so freaking beautiful. I love it. Like, I can't even express how I love it. And finally, my last favorite quote that I really loved in this is at the very end. Like, it's the last page. And it's talking about how we younger people think we are invincible. And it says, "We think that we are invincible because we are. We cannot be born and we cannot die. Like all energy, we can only change shapes and sizes and manifestations. They forget that when they get old, they get scared of losing and failing, but that part of us, greater than the sum of our parts, cannot begin and cannot end, and so it cannot fail." Like, this book is just beautiful and I love it, and I can see why everybody else loves it. And I've heard rumors that they're turning it into a movie. I don't think there's a cast. They haven't even started shooting, so at least I'm a bit ahead of it now. I read Fault in Our Stars right before the movie came out, and I read Paper Towns right before the movie came out, so now I can at least say, well, I read Looking for Alaska way before the movie came out. And this is just such a great book. Like, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. For those of you who don't know, Looking for Alaska is about a boy named Pudge, and he decides to go to this private boarding school that his dad went to expand his horizons. And it's his junior year, and he becomes friends with his roommate, the Colonel, and the Colonel's really good friend, Takumi, and Alaska, and it's about their shenanigans and a lot of other stuff, and it's just amazing. The second book I picked up was Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard, Book 2, The Hammer of Thor by Rick Riordan. This book is freaking amazing. Like, the story just goes on more and more, and like we get introduced to a new character that is super badass and is like probably my favorite character, and I just like this book. Like, definitely, don't get me wrong, I really love the first book, but the second book was so freaking good. And that is just great because in a lot of series, especially trilogies, which is what this is going to be, the second book is normally kind of a letdown. However, I haven't really experienced that with any of Riordan's books because he's like amazing, let's just put it that way. But this, so far, I definitely like love this book so much more than the first book. But I really love the first book too, and it's amazing. And I actually have a book talk going up. I don't know if it'll already be up. It may not be up, but it may. I don't really know. But a book talk about this and the first book coming up soon. So if it's up, I will link it down below, or I will leave a space, and then I will link it when it is posted, and you can go watch it. And I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars, obviously. The next book I picked up was Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, and I have been wanting to read this since I finished Fangirl and heard that they were turning it into an actual book. So, Carry On, if you have read Fangirl, Kath, our main character, writes fanfiction about the Simon Snow books, which is kind of like Harry Potter, and she has, her fanfiction she's been working on is called Carry On, and so we got a book out of it. This deals, it is not exactly like the fanfiction Kath writes. This is really its own story, and I liked it. Like, I really did, but I did have some slight issues with this book, particularly that it's a standalone, and it felt like it could have been a series. Like, this felt like a wrap-up to a series instead of just a standalone, and I'm missing so much information from the beginning books that I would have loved to read. So I really did love it. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars, and I actually do have a book talk over this. I don't know if it is up yet. If it is, either way, I'll link it down below, and so, yeah. You can hear all of my thoughts and opinions as to why it's rated 3 stars instead of 4 or 5, but I'm telling you, I really did enjoy it. I just had some issues with it. After that, I went ahead and picked up the Internet Girl series by Lauren Miracle, consisting of TTYL, TTFN, and Later Gator. This series follows these 3 best friends from high school from their sophomore to their senior year, and it's written all throughout their IM messages, and you really get to see all the shenanigans that they get up to and their problems and struggling with friendships and trying to help your friends realize that some of the things they're doing are not the best and all of that. And it was really great. These are really easy, fun reads, and I honestly like these more than I thought I would. I thought when I first picked these up that I was like, I'll just kind of scrape through it. I just wanted to get through it because they're short and they're easy and it's just like IM messages. But then I actually found myself like really liking the series because it reminded me a lot of me and my group of friends in high school. Not particularly that we talked in IM all the time, but some of the problems that they faced and issues they had to deal with, I had to deal with too, and it made me think back a lot on high school and like my friend group at that time. So it was kind of nostalgic, just a little bit, but like not enough to make me like want to go back to high school, because God knows I never want to go back there ever again. I rated each of these 3 out of 5 stars. Next, I finished An Autobiography of Red by Anne Carson. I started reading this for my creative writing class. I want to say November, maybe December is when we started reading it. I got about halfway through and I never finished it because it couldn't grab my interest, and it's written completely in verse, and I'm not necessarily a verse or poetic person, but I was sitting at Barnes & Noble's one day, and the book I was reading at the time, I just kind of needed a break because it was kind of disturbing, and so I had this actually already in my backpack, and I decided to finish reading it, and I did, and I still like don't know anything about this is about. Like, it's like kind of like a retelling of Hercules, and our main character is Gyron, and like he's like a red monster dealing with life and everything, and like I think I kind of get the image of like what it was about, but like I still don't really grasp, like, I don't know. It was a short read and I was like, oh, I'm like halfway through the book already, might as well finish it. I believe I rated this 2 stars just because I didn't understand it. Alright, and the last book I finished in January was Forbidden by Tabitha Susma. This book is disturbing. It's like the best way I can put this book into my head. This book is about a brother and a sister who end up falling in love. It is about incest, like consensual incest. And I had seen people talk about this book a long time ago, and I really liked the cover. So I was like, I'm gonna pick it up. I was kind of wishing I didn't. I did finish it, however, because I didn't quite agree with what was going on in the story, but I just wanted to find out what was happening next, because our main characters, Maya and Locken, they are the oldest of 5 siblings, and their mother is not exactly a parent. Their parents got divorced, and their dad moved off to Australia with his new family. They haven't heard anything from him. And their mother is an absentee mother. She goes to work and she comes home on the weekends, but then she hardly stays home on the weekends anymore either, because she's out with her boyfriend, and she's still trying to pretend that she's in her early 20s with no kids, when really she's 45 and she has 5 children she needs to take care of. And all of the issues with that, this book was quite disturbing. I found myself cringing a lot. Not because it's badly written, just because some of the scenes, it was just like, you don't think about that. And I'm not a crier. I don't like to cry, like, ever. I don't really cry at books. There are very few books that I've cried at. However, the ending of this book literally brought me to tears. Like, not like full-on sobbing like when I went to see Fault in Our Stars, the movie, but there were tears, and like myself was sniffling a bit. And I was like, I didn't expect myself to be so impacted by the ending, but I was. So I ended up giving this book 3 out of 5 stars. It's a good read, but the content, like, is just so, like, out of my mind. So just like a fair warning, if you do want to pick this book up, it does deal with incest a lot. So those are the books I finished reading in January, and now on to the book that I am currently reading. So after finishing Forbidden, I decided it was time to jump into my first book that I'm taking to Spain, so I'll already be halfway through it on the plane. And that book is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first book in the Mistborn series, and I have actually already read this. I read this 2 years ago, and I'm rereading it so I can finish the series, and like, I'm almost 150 pages in, and let me just tell you, I already love being back in this world, and I love our characters, and I am so excited to actually like finish the series. For those of you who don't know, Mistborn is set in a world where the bad guy won the war, and the people are split up into, there are the noblemen, who of course are the elite. Even the lower noblemen are still elite, and they are favored by the Lord Ruler. And then we have the Ska, which are basically the slave people in the rebellion that happened thousands of years ago on the losing side, and they are forced into servitude, and they are very much looked down upon by the noblemen, and the Lord Ruler is just an asshole. In this world also there is allomancy magic, where certain people can digest metals and use them for different things, and then from there, if you can do any allomancy, you are considered a misting if you can do just at least one. And then the other one is called a Mistborn, and Mistborn can use all 10 of the metals, and a misting can only use 1. So it's either you got 1, you got all, or you get none. And we follow our main character, who ends up being a Mistborn, and everything, and it's just like, it's a freaking adventure ride, and it's them trying to overthrow the government. And let me just tell you, this book takes twists and turns you will not see, because I didn't see it. And yes, so I'm so excited to finish this book. Alright, so that is it for all that I read in January. Not a bad reading month. Like, I mean, it was a really good reading month, but book-wise, it was okay. It could have been better. So let me know down in the comments what you guys read in January, what books were your favorite, what books were your least favorite. Let's talk down in the comments. And also don't forget to give this video a huge thumbs up and subscribe to see more videos from me. I make new videos every Thursday. Also, all my social media links are down below if you want to friend me, follow me, or whatever. It's cool with me. And yeah, so I will see you guys in my next video. Goodbye!